Hello and welcome to the Friday, June 27th edition of the Contributor Comms team meeting. As a reminder, this operates under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. Here at the beginning of the meeting, we like to offer an opportunity for anyone on the call to introduce themselves. This is totally optional. I will go first because I like to use this as an excuse to explain what the meeting is. Hello, I'm Caslin Fields, and I am a co-lead of this sub-project, which is the Contributor Communications sub-project within the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience, which I am also a co-chair of, the parent group of this. And the purpose of this group is to make sure that folks within the contributor community know about stuff that's going on that they should know about, and also to some extent to make sure that folks outside of the contributor community know about the awesome work that contributors are doing. We achieve that through a variety of means, including running social media for the project, writing blog posts, and all sorts of other things, and we'll do updates on a variety of those things today. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional.
Yes, I am Chris Short, a longtime SIG ContribEx contributor and also the other co-chair of this sub-project. Right? Yeah, okay. Terms are hard. Anyways.
Co-lead, whatever.
Co-lead. Yes, co-lead. That's what I meant. Don't be afraid to ask us questions. And if you're here to observe as a first-time person, you're doing onboarding correctly, in my opinion. Sorry. Pronouns he, him.
I didn't say my pronouns. She, her. They're everywhere else. Anyone else? Totally optional.
Susan Sika. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the first-time observer and lurker.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And for the recording, Susan helped me out with social posts for KubeCon Japan, which was super helpful, and I really, really appreciate it. And we should probably talk about doing the same thing for KubeCon India today. Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
Well, I'm Josh Burkus. I'll be at KubeCon India. Among other things, I'm a co-editor of LWKD and also on the Slack admin team. So when comms includes using the announce channel, I'm generally the one who does that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Totally optional.
Yep.
Alrighty then. Also like to do a reminder here at the beginning. This is a very casual meeting, as you have seen so far if you're already on the call. And if you haven't been on one of our calls before, you would quickly pick up on that. So if at any time you want to pop in and introduce yourself or ask a question or anything like that, please do feel free. We are very conversational and chill here. And last housekeeping item, we like to have someone from the call be our designated note taker for the session. The role of the note taker is to follow along with the discussion and take notes as best you can, so that if anyone missed the meeting, they could catch up via the notes if they want to. Would anyone be up for volunteering to be our note taker today?
I can do it.
Yay.
Thank you. Mario is on it. Also, note taking is honestly really a group effort. If you hear something that you're like, that should really be in the notes, and you don't see it in there, just feel free to pop in there. I do it a lot. But thank you, Mario, for being the primary note taker. I was going to bring up oh, this is the wrong place. Wait. Oh, I have that open. That's fine. I was working on finding the social posts thing.
The spreadsheet?
Yes, the spreadsheet.
Thought I had that open somewhere, but maybe not.
Got it. Just wanted to put the link in our notes doc.
Thank you.
And if we have extra time at the end, which I always say and then we never have, then maybe we'll work on it. Cool. So let's start off our regular agenda. The first thing on our list is always messages of the week. The point of this section is to think about what's going on in the contributor community that folks need to know about, both for LWKD, last week in Kubernetes development, which is a newsletter that part of the group runs, and for social media. So does anyone know about things that are going on right now that folks need to know about? One thing that comes to the top of mind for me is that we were talking about Open Source Summit Japan, which has an open CFP. That's not super directly related to Kubernetes, and we don't usually post about open source summits, but that's one thing that came up in my head. I don't know if we even want to write that one down, but anything else? Maintainer Summit stuff is still open, right? Maintainer Summit and Maintainer Track close at the end of July, I think.
Yes, Maintainer Summit tracks are 7th of July.
Here it is. Oh, yeah. Maintainer Track closes July 7th, so that's actually pretty close.
That's really close. Yeah. Ooh.
We should
damn.
probably do a reminder. of
Yes.
that. Oh, no.
Register.
Got it. What about registration? Oh, registration for Maintainer Summit?
Is open, yes.
Good to know. And that closes, I guess, like a week beforehand?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
plenty
what
of
I'm
time.
told?
Just out of curiosity, Mario, did you want to repeat our talk with just updated data from EU or not? We can always.
I'm not
redo it
sure yet. Let's
Yeah.
put it this way, because Maintainer Summit, then all of this AI conformance stuff that potentially, well, that is going to be announced at Atlanta, and then I also need to take care of the tech talk.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm not sure if I want to have yet another talk. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, and I can totally submit.
Yeah.
Something.
Kathleen is there. Kathleen potentially
gonna be
wants
there.
to speak
Yeah,
with
we
you.
can do this.
What's the talk? Doesn't
social
matter.
media
I'll
for
rock it, but
social media
Right.
for open source projects.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I think
I
it'd be
did make
fun.
that report earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Right. I had
I
the
like the
slides.
idea. I would like to share that more broadly.
Yeah, same.
That's not really something for this agenda, though. Anything else going
No.
on in the community that we need to mention in LWKD or on socials? KubeCon stuff coming in. Where are we at in the release cycle? I think the actual schedule for the release is out now. We could do
Yes.
something about that. Because I think every time I've asked previously, it was not actually out yet.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
date now.
Doesn't Release have their own designated comms person though?
Yes.
They do.
Okay.
But we never interact as much as we wish that we would.
There's that.
Other
Well, it'd be
words,
nice
they never-
actually if the Release comms person attended this meeting some of the time. I don't know what time zone they're in though.
We've seen that at least once, but yeah, it would be really great if.
I mean, with the caveat that if you're on the release team, there's lots of release team meetings.
Right, like
So
Yes.
at least
there's
be
the-
in the channel, right? Like that'd
Listen,
be
I
nice.
posted the link in
Link?
in the chat.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And there's summary, and in summary you can see
Nice.
feature block freeze is upcoming, which is July the 11th, but that's the only approaching date. So this is still some time.
Yeah, but we might want to just post about the schedule. Yeah, it's one of the things on our board, which we'll get to later, to create like a guide doc for other leads on how they interact with us, particularly for this problem.
Right.
We have in the past, like, ideally, I think we want to identify who the lead is early on, reach out to them, say, hey, if you need any help, we're here. Here's when we meet, and here's access to the social media platforms, probably. Just give them buffer access, or like give us your email so that we can give you buffer access.
Yep.
And then also, have a process at the end to take that access away from that lead, give it to the next lead. Ideally, we would have a process like that. In reality, we don't actually do that. But you know what? We could do it now. If somebody wants to go identify who the comms lead is and just send them a ping to be like, hey.
We exist.
Chris, you're usually good about doing things like that
Yeah.
while I
Yeah, I
And-
can do that.
mention them.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
also generally they have like 2 or 3 shadows, so
Right.
Yeah.
a shadow could attend or something.
True. Yeah. And we should like template out what we send to them. That's what we could
Yeah.
document.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can
yeah.
document, here's what you should do at the beginning of the release cycle. Reach out to the person, send them something using roughly this template, give them buffer access, and then at the end, or when you're setting up the next comms lead, revoke their access.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I ever actually revoked the full
We don't-
posting
well,
access.
We did
So
this.
we
Sorry.
we did an audit and we decided not to remove folks because
Yeah.
they
I
have
don't
to
know
get
if I
approval
revoked
anyway.
full
We-
posting access.
Oh,
We did. We not for buffer, but for example,
might
for the
have.
Slack announcement bot, we gave
Well, yeah.
access to folks for maintainer contributor summit in the past, and then revoked it after they have no longer been lead. So for this, we did it. What would be interesting
Yeah, I
if
think-
we can manage buffer access via GitHub.
that would be lovely. But I don't know.
Is that a feature that anyway.
Yeah, there's an API for buffer. We know that. So
Mm,
maybe.
we should, yeah. Right. We should talk about options.
Mm-hmm.
So reach out to release comms lead and give them buffer access, invite to meeting, etc. Yes. And line spacing is bothering me today. All right. Anything else? We've got release, we've got KubeCon, India, and North America. KubeCon India is coming up in August. I guess I'll put that in here. KubeCon India, August 6th and 7th, I think. So we might want to send out a reminder since that's about a month away. Thank you. Oh. Sorry. Oh, that's just all right. That's fine. Cool. Any other messages of the week that folks can think of? Josh, as an LWKD person, anything on your mind?
No.
Do these
No.
sound
I mean,
useful?
we'll go through the usual dev announcements, but that won't happen until Monday. So
Yeah.
the
We often don't actually have an LWKD person on the call, so we like go through these and try to think of what would be useful, but we don't get much feedback on it. So if you have any feedback
Yeah.
on if these
I
things are
mean,
useful.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of the messages of the week was more, sometimes, you're taking care of another comms request, and
True.
LWKD ought to be included in that. But if the
Good point.
people who are working on LWKD don't know about it, then it doesn't get included.
Oh.
Reasonable. But I think these are also good. Cool. Let's move on then to new items. Any particular new items that folks have picked up on? I see someone added one thing, which is valid. Whoever added that, do you want to talk about it?
That's me.
that-
I just wanted to let comms folks know, since lots of people were involved in getting the word out about this. We amended the blog posts, but we're not doing further announcements until the CNCF staff tell us that they have something on paper, confirming that our Pro Slack account is ours for at least the next year. So at some point we'll actually make an announcement about that, but not yet.
Right. We just don't have to get downgraded in the meantime, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no decision yet, or there's no further information yet. This is still all ongoing and is now mostly lying with CNCF.
Yeah. It does. I feel like it does kind of confirm that the original decision to kick us off wasn't made at the executive level.
Yeah.
But
Or was with not enough information.
yeah.
I mean, we are not the only ones. They basically did this to all non-profit over 350 users.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. And based on timing, I think the precipitating event was the rollout of their AI features, because given that they were rolling out those features and kicking people off on the same day, it seems unlikely to be a coincidence.
Trying to save capacity, perhaps.
Honestly, I think it's more likely that they were discussing, AI features and capacity and scaling, and somebody said, "But what about the free pro accounts?" And somebody else was like, "Wait, why do we have free pro accounts?"
And now they know.
Yep.
Wow.
But this is the usual thing of, hey, if we have to get messages out to our entire community in a hurry, it's going to end up in the tech news, which we kind of knew.
This is true.
Yeah, anything we put out like that is going to end up in some news form of some sort. Yeah.
I have also heard some complaints about the way that we handled it. I talked with Mario some earlier this week to ask him some questions about things. I know that the CNCF is talking with steering more about how much they're involved with things, which I know that folks from our group might have had some complaints about as well, the way that steering engaged or didn't. And one thing that I heard from some CNCF folks was about, they framed it as like critical comms guidelines, which we do have critical comms guidelines from our group, but the critical comms guidelines that we have are more about like, here are considerations for forming the content for critical comms, like some questions that you should make sure that you're answering. We might want to consider including some guidelines in there about critical path. If we have a piece of critical comms that is in coordination with another group, making sure that someone from that outside group is part of the approvals process, things like that are not currently in our critical comms guidelines. Not that anyone looked at that doc during this adventure, but we could document it. More thorough.
I do actually want to point out that in the whole development of all of our messaging, CNCF staff were CC'd on all of it.
Yes.
Some of those CNCF staff chose to take the weekend off, even though they knew that we were targeting a release on Monday. And so the fact that they were not informed was their fault.
I would not say it was like this because the critic, I think, came not from CNCF. The critic came from TOC, and TOC members were aware of this, but they did not do inner TOC communication. But also this bears the question if TOC has anything to do with this, because the role of TOC is might not be the role that they think they took in this endeavor, but that's something that needs to be decided on CNCF and TOC level and not on the project level.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll say for that, it did not occur to me to bring up the TOC for two reasons. Number one, I didn't see that they had any role in this.
Yeah.
Because they're certainly not going to handle a migration or anything else. That's handled by the staff. And second, if the TOC needed to be informed, it would be the staff that would do it, right? So as Kubernetes, it's not really our job. To inform the TOC.
Well, us specifically, yes.
Yeah. So
I think there are learnings. There should be learnings on the CNCF side as well about their critical comms processes and their own guidelines.
I think what would be nice to have is at one point a retro, but I would basically move the retro to the point when we figured out what actually is the state, because we are still more or less in limbo.
Yeah.
The I mean, one actually interesting thing, and this would be for the retro that came in this, is that there weren't really any CNCF/LFPR people involved at any point, and I'm not quite sure why. Because they do have them.
Yeah.
And that part was a little surprising, and I think part of this is this is going to be this was because this was happening the week of KubeCon Japan. This was the case of, whether we're looking at Kubernetes contributors or CNCF staff, we only had a third of our staff available to deal with this at all, right? Because it was literally the weekend when everybody was getting on an airplane.
Right.
Like the way I found out about it was Bob messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I'm at the airport and I just found this out."
Yeah.
So there were a lot of missed connections in that regard.
Yeah, figuring out who are the right people who need to be involved in comms is maybe something that we could put some more stuff into our comms guidelines documents in, because we might want to consider like guidelines on who are the right people and what are the roles that they could play in creating the critical comms guidance. Like there's pinging people on Slacks, and then there's this message doesn't go out unless people have approved it. And so like putting in guidelines about those considerations, just having them documented somewhere might be a good idea.
For example, I would have loved, and this was missing basically, before the communication goes out, that there was at least any +1 from steering, because the final messaging that got out never got a +1 from any steering member.
Which, I mean, granted, steering's background in these types of issues could introduce significant delays, but still a good idea.
I agree. The only problem is that it was on a global level for the project, and then that's what steering is for, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the case of something time critical like this, the answer is that steering should be informed and have the opportunity to intervene, but their approval should not be formal approval should not be required. Because one of the things to keep in mind the timeline here, right? Which is we thought that in the original timeline we needed to take action
Right.
Yeah, but
by Friday.
Steering acted on it, right? So steering gave feedback on
Mhm.
this discussion over the weekend. Just the
Mhm.
post was not +1 in the end. That's what I said. It's like they maybe this was also not something that was clear to steering that they should +1 this in the end, but
Yeah.
But that's something we could create guidelines around.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The yeah, I'm saying, and this is one thing we should go is I'm saying that there's going to be other circumstances where we need sort of an abridged steering vote.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways to handle that is to say, for example, at least 2 steering members need to +1 it, rather than saying that there needs to be a full vote, because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of cases of, oh, hey, people need to be informed about this in the next 48 hours. And we're not going to be able to get a full vote from all of steering. But if you can get a couple steering members to endorse it with the idea that we're having this emergency vote situation, then I think that would work.
Another new guideline we should probably add is to share the guidelines doc as we're working
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
critical comms.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing with steering involvement in anything is always that steering is an elected position that folks serve in for 2 years and they can get reelected and stuff. But a lot of folks in steering don't necessarily know what their job is, especially in like unique circumstances like this. So
Yeah.
informing them that this is part of their job would be part of the job.
Fun.
Generally, I would say it was still handled pretty well overall. I mean, nothing broke. No one got hurt. We had backups. We could basically face the turn down of the event on Friday, or the downgrade of Slack on Friday.
Yeah.
And things would have been roughly okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it was actually, believe it or not, some nice preparation, because I think we are likely to be facing needing to move off Slack in about 10 months.
Yeah.
So we now feel a little bit more prepared for what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a longer term evaluation, because it's going to come down to how much effort is required to stay on Slack versus how much effort is required to move.
And what are the benefits of each option?
Right.
It's an opportunity to reevaluate.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that I criticize. I will criticize this whole discussion that then came up in the issue with like what are alternatives and stuff like this. 80% of the people who are in discussion are not even part of the Kubernetes project.
Bingo. Yeah.
And that's
I had one of my
very,
people
very
chime in.
unsatisfactory.
So, case in point, one of my folks chimed in on behalf of Mattermost because Mattermost asked them to. And I was just like,
well, I mean, when I'm looking at it, putting on my other hat as Slack admin, when I'm looking at it from perspective of eventually we will have to migrate off of Slack.
Yeah.
That thread was really useful because we had people speak up from each of the other platforms, except Zulip, whatever that is. Now when we do our longer term evaluation of alternative platforms, we have people to reach out to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the outcome turned out better than we had any right to expect it to be, considering how rushed the whole thing was.
Speaking of you as a Slack admin, Josh, one question that I wanted to ask is I heard that Slack admins received notice from Slack about the threatened downgrade. Is that true?
Nope.
Workspace owners, not
so.
Slack
Yeah, owners
admins.
might have.
Owners. Okay.
Because this is actually how CNCF found out, because the owners received an email, which was an automated email.
Right.
Your space will be downgraded on last week Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And owners for our Slack are also within the CNCF, I
Bob,
guess.
I think Bob and George are still owners because they worked initially on the setup, and but
Both.
I don't know more.
No, I'm not an owner.
Good to
Bob
know.
and Jiffy are owners.
Oh,
Yeah. Understanding the roles of our Slack admins and stuff is a positive outcome of this.
yes.
Yeah. No, what the Slack admins got notice of was the rollout of the AI features, which is why I know about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
From
Like,
Slack?
Yep.
wow.
Huh.
I wonder if they like intentionally popped in. Like, did you get it via Slack, like the actual communication medium?
Yeah.
Okay. That's yeah.
Because one thing, there's some configurability for those. So it
Mhm.
was actually, from a rollout perspective, it was really nice. I would love it if other platforms like, say, Facebook offered that level of notification instead of changing the configuration behind the scenes without telling us. Where Slack said, hey, we're going to have these AI features soon. They'll be available coming next week. In the meantime, you can already configure them using this console here. That was actually really well done.
Okay.
I haven't, by the way, configured any of the AI features. I'm not certain whether we're supposed to use them or not. They looked pretty harmless to me because they're not. Users of our Slack have to specifically ping the AI bots. They're not interventionists the way they are in some other platforms. So at some point we'll discuss that when I figure out whether or not we're even actually have it accessible in our account. Because one of the things that occurs to me is that one of the reasons they might have wanted to downgrade the free pro accounts is that they didn't want us using AI resources.
Right.
So
in which case I'm happy to disable everything. I wasn't planning on using any of it myself.
Right.
So technically the decision for AI usage tooling based on the latest ruling from steering is within the SIG, which means SIG ContribEx would decide.
Yep.
But that's a wild like chain when you think about the whole problem and why this happened kind of thing. It's like, oh, we're adding AI features. Oh, there's free folks that we have that might use these. Oh no. And then downgrade
Now it's
everybody.
getting expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that is crazy to think through that.
I have no confirmation that that's what happened.
Right. But like
but it
correlation.
Speaking as somebody who has been admin for large pieces of infrastructure in the past, I can completely see that chain of events happening.
Yeah, I can too, but it's still worth noting, I think, at least in the recording for this call. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And we are one of the
Right.
biggest Slack installations, as far as I know.
One of the bits of good news out of that is that we now effectively have a liaison with Salesforce over our Slack, who is one of the old Heroku people, and so actually has some community understanding. So the sort of person I actually would have pinged, except that I knew that she was in Heroku, so I didn't think she would know anything about this, because Salesforce is a huge company.
Right.
But,
One other thing that this brings up in my mind that I'll mention, though it's more of a SIG ContribEx level thing, is our Slack admins. The state of our Slack admins group is not the best.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've gotten new Slack admins.
No, and we haven't.
So
we haven't done any recruiting.
Yeah, one opportunity that this presents if we end up changing to Discord or at least getting more eyes on our Slack is perhaps we could do some recruiting for Slack admins or make some changes to bring new folks in and inform them what they need to do.
Yeah, what we particularly need, and I should write up a help wanted that you can take to like an NCO or whatever, is somebody who's interested in messing about with the Slack API and Slack bots.
Right. You had mentioned that before.
Because we don't have that right now. The reason why I brought up we need to do something within the next year is all of our existing bots will stop working
right
by May of 2026.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
What?
For real?
That is
And,
relevant to this group.
Ugh.
Yes, and so we need to find out what's the process for making new bots based on their new infra,
API.
and whether those new bots will be able to do the things that the old bots did.
What is the deadline for the Slack bots?
May
stopping working?
2026.
May 2026.
May
Yeah.
2026.
Again, this is
Okay.
something they informed the admins through the platform,
Cool.
where they said, because they're now on their third generation of this is how you build a Slack bot,
Oh,
and our bots are a mixture of first and second generation. They
Yeah.
just
Okay.
killed off the first generation ones, and we need to fix a couple of bots.
Yeah.
They're unfortunately not critical ones. But we could really use somebody who personally is interested in tinkering around with Slack and the Slack API, because it's time consuming, because the API is very poorly documented.
A tech opportunity related to
Yeah.
comms.
Yes.
Folks often come in
yes.
and ask for those.
Right, and particularly it's it's one of these things. Unfortunately, it's not one of those where it's like, oh, if you are interested in contributing in a tech sense and you don't do Golang, because ultimately the bots get written in Golang.
Yeah.
So, but if somebody is learning Golang, if they've just gone to coding bootcamp for Golang, then this might be an opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Noted. Needs familiarity with Go, right? Took a bunch of notes on that. We have 15 minutes left in our meeting. The one thing I put in updates is KubeCon India socials. Since KubeCon India is coming up in about a month, we really need to get the social posts for that one written. You don't have to be attending India. You don't have to know basically anything about it. You can just check out the schedule for the event and look at past examples. I don't think we have a we have KubeCon Japan. We don't have a KubeCon India. I'm just going to do it right now. Duplicate KubeCon India and 2025. And I'm going to delete all the existing. Oh, not the post one. But yes. Posts. And so we'll need to. The next thing that needs to happen is these need to be updated. I guess. Can I put a comment about that? Yeah. Oh, where am I typing? Need to be updated. Cool. So the times and also the activities need to be updated based on the actual schedule for KubeCon India. So first thing that we could use some help with is someone to go through the schedule and fix the description of the posts that we need and the times that they would need to go out. And then the second thing that we'll need help with is actually writing the posts. So if anyone would like to
what would be
volunteer to help
nice?
out.
Templates.
What?
Yeah.
Templates.
For
What do you mean by that?
Basically,
Social
that you
media.
have like because that's what we do in the Excel, just directly in Buffer. You say like, this is the data range, this is what you want to talk about, and you can then already have like a template set for KubeCon, and just need to change
Interesting.
details.
Yeah.
I don't think we've used buffer templates, if that's a feature that
No,
exists.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay,
existing.
well, another reason that I don't think that we would really want to do that, even if we had that, is the reason it's in a spreadsheet to begin with is to make it as accessible as possible for folks to
Yeah,
just
that's
hop
true.
in and do it.
Yeah.
And there would be an extra barrier there of getting folks into buffer, which might lose us some folks who would otherwise contribute to it. So I have a preference for the sheet for ease of contribution.
Yes. And there are templates. Like the feature is there. It's new though.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh, well, I tried to open that and that didn't work, but I'll look at that later. I guess I'll put that in the notes. Buffer templates. Yeah.
No.
So I guess I'll write here in the notes. Need someone to go through. Could someone grab me the link to the KubeCon India schedule? India schedule update descriptions and publishing times of needed posts.
I think we'll need to throw this in the Slack channel because for whatever reason, none of our many Indian contributors to the comms group are on the call right now.
Yeah.
One, I think.
Oh yeah, did somebody dial in? Oh yes,
Yeah,
somebody did.
Rujal.
Awesome. Okay.
Glad to have you here. But yeah, I know several folks from the India contingent of our group had mentioned interest in helping with this, but we didn't have it set up yet for them. So we should mention in the comms Slack channel that this is what we need and where to find it. If somebody wants to grab this info and do that, would appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah. You got it, Mario? Or you want me to do it?
but I can do it.
Okay.
And now there are 12 minutes left. I think we should hop into the board.
Why not?
So for anyone who hasn't been on our meetings before and is not familiar with it, or just only attended meetings where we don't actually get to the board, which happen entirely too frequently, this is the board. This is our GitHub, like a Kanban board for tracking work that needs to be done and what state it's in. We primarily use it for tracking blogs because Federico is an absolute boss, as we always like to say. And Federico is our blogging lead, so he usually keeps this up to date with what's going on with blogs. I will preface before going into the actual board by saying that we do have issues with blogging right now. The SIG Docs team and also the contributor site, honestly, don't have enough blog reviewers right now. We've had a lot of discussions about what that means and what we should really do to fix it. If you are interested in becoming a blog reviewer, we desperately need help with that, especially in SIG Docs. So please let one of us know and or ping in the SIG Docs channel in Slack to say that you're interested in blog reviewing, and they should give you more information about what would be required to become a blog reviewer. So some of our blogs are kind of on hold because of the lack of reviewers right now. Folks ready to hop into the board? All right, so PR is open for review right now. Working group policy spotlight blog. So our spotlight blog series is ideally a series that we always have going, where members of this group interview the leads of SIGs, or in this case, working groups, and write a blog post about what they learned about that group and how it does its work and help needed and stuff like that. So this is an Arujval blog. Arujval, do you want to give any updates?
Even I'm not got any updates on this. It's on hold for like 1 or 2 months. So
Because of the lack of reviewers.
yes, I did mention
Yeah.
them. Like I pinged on SIG Docs that I want to become a dog reviewer, and
Thank
they
you.
they also referred me a blog that I have reviewed. But after that, I did not got much. So
It's a start. Thank you for offering to help out with this big problem. You have been doing a fantastic job of hopping in and doing blogs for us. So I'm excited to see you grow those skills as a reviewer. Hopefully, if SIG Docs is not giving you enough information to go on, please let us know and we'll try to do what we can to help.
sure.
Because it's
As
easy
far
to
as
get
I know,
distracted
that
when you're trying to
article,
train new folks.
yeah, as far as I know, that's been done for a while. It doesn't need
It has. It's actually
any
done.
additional review. Yeah, it doesn't need any
Yeah, I
additional
mentioned.
review. It's been the whole calendar setting problem.
Yes. Yeah. That's something that we've discussed before. Is the common problem that the lack of reviewers actually causes is we do the review process and then we need to coordinate the last piece of actually publishing the blog on a specified date because the date needs to be in the blog when it's actually going to go out. So it requires a bit of coordination between the reviewer or the writer of the blog who can change the blog itself to add the date in it and the docs team who can actually approve the blog and send it out at the right time. And that's where things tend to kind of fall apart due to the lack of reviewers.
I mean, that feels like a help wanted because that's an annoying technical problem. Like it actually kind of does feel like it would be worth doing a patch to Hugo or Doxy to take out the requirement that the date needs to be in the blog post.
Oh.
Agreed, honestly. Would be nice if that was not a requirement or if it could be added automatically.
Because it happens all the time. I would say on average, our blog posts get delayed by like 4 weeks because of the whole calendar setting problem.
So if we just remove the date and published everything live, right? Like that's potentially possible, but then we lose the date in the blog post itself too, which
no, that's why it would need to be a platform.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why it would need to be a platform change, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a thing that should be.
Yeah, it's possible. It's technically possible. Whether or not folks want to do it is the real question.
Yeah, I don't know a good example for how to do that because all of the static site builders have the same problem. Because obviously in dynamic blog websites, this is not a problem because the date is actually a field in the database rather than being in the contents of the blog. So this would not just be a matter of making a change, it would be figuring out what the technical change should be. But at this point, I would say it's honestly our biggest problem with blogs is that we get all the way to the point where something has been through all the reviews and then there's a weeks-long process of deciding on the date and then trying to communicate with the original blog author so they set the date before time runs out.
Yeah. An interesting proposal. Thank you, Josh, for suggesting that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Alrighty. So let's move on to the preliminary review column. We have 6 minutes left. In preliminary review, we have a spotlight on SIG Infra, which Akansha has been working on in the early part of this year. I don't know where that's at right now. Federico, do you know of any updates on the SIG Infra blog? Go ahead. Oh, Josh.
Oh, no. Finish with SIG.
Sorry, I was... So no, I was looking into it. I remember that at a certain point in time, I went after the content because the content disappeared, the reviewed one. But I haven't been able to actually find it. And the person that actually did that didn't answer me when I asked. So
lovely.
Akansha. She was very involved at the beginning of the year. She might have kind of dropped off. Contributing.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask again. I remember that during a couple of weeks, I asked because what happened likely is that someone had right privileges in HackMD and someone else and copied over. So I need the owner of that to provide me. So I can ping her again.
Thank you. And Josh, what you got?
For some reason, there's a blog post that's not on this board.
Oh.
Anywhere on the board?
No, it's not. I don't know why. The post-quantum cryptography and Kubernetes blog post, which is actually
not from our group.
We're setting schedule. It's in contributor site though.
Yeah, but this is the SIG ContribEx comms status board, so it tracks blogs that are coming out of comms. Arguably, it should track any contributor site blogs because technically we're supposed to own that site.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be used for that as long as we add the information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's writing it?
We just have
Sorry,
to have
Josh.
someone who actually monitors that and
Actually,
updates
there's an ongoing discussion around creating a similar project board for website.
Huh.
for website, not contributor site.
For website, yeah.
Another aspect of the blog issue
Mm-hmm.
is that we have 2 blogs. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we just had never thought about tracking all of the contributor site blogs in this board. Thank you for proposing that, Josh. We probably should do that.
Agreed. Huh.
Yeah. If somebody wants to go
Uh,
find that and
yeah.
add that to the board, would appreciate it.
And I'll say for status is it's been fully reviewed. We actually even found a second person who does cryptography
Oh, nice.
to give their opinion on it. So at this point, it's just at the schedule setting stage of things.
Thank you for doing that, Josh. I've been like lightly keeping an eye on that one, wondering if it was a good blog post or if it was
Yeah.
written by AI or
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a reviewer for the contributor blog and occasionally the main blog. So one of the things that comms can do sometimes is if you know a blog post has gotten to the point where it's ready for language editing, as in editing for grammar and composition and punctuation, etc. Then ping me. Either in the issue, in the PR itself, because I do check my GitHub notifications. This actually might be a good thing to have a GitHub team for, although the team would only be 2 people at this point. So
I
you
mean,
could just ping us
if we're
individually.
Yeah.
gonna track all contributor site blogs in this board, I think it becomes a group problem, at least at that stage of the language editing.
Yeah.
We usually do call outs to the entire group. If you are up for doing a language editing, proofreading of this blog,
Right.
please do it. And we just post it in Slack.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's actually a good way to also improve
Yeah.
the help
I mean,
that we get on that site.
yeah, one thing I've asked for in the main blog also is actually adding a column. Because one of the problems with the blog posts that we're not sort of distinguishing that I think slows things up is that blog posts go through several different kinds of review. And we don't represent those as different states or a checklist. Because like, for example, for a spotlight, somebody else from that group needs to double check that what they're saying about the team is correct, right? And I'm not going to do that, right? Because if it's a spotlight on security policy, what do I know? But when it gets to proofreading, etc., so there's like language and proofreading, there's link check, there's a bunch of other things, and let me think about this, because I really feel we're getting to the point where it would be nice to have some way to represent a checklist for each of these, because then people who
A board.
are only qualified to do one type of review know when their type of review is available to do.
I mean, I can see that one quick way of trying to do something like that, which partially I try to do, but not always successfully, is to first keep the work in progress title as long as it takes to get the review of the people that were actually interviewed and eventually the technical content review. I say eventually because spotlights are also interesting in that most of the time we're actually interviewing the same persons that would be involved in saying that the content is okay from the SIG perspective. So, but they should be able to say if the content reflects what they actually wrote, because sometimes there are changes. So, and after that, we remove the work in progress tag, and it should be mostly a matter of styling, spelling, content, and stuff like that. Maybe we can further formalize this. I know that we can add checkboxes to the issue template, so and it gives a percentage when you go through it, like we have for caps, for example. That's a possibility. There are likely others, but yeah, I do think that if we actually requires that those different steps, and we want to be absolutely sure that we are not missing them, it's a good idea.
And we are 2 minutes over time. I like this idea, and we should continue to talk about it hopefully next time if we remember.
Okay.
Also, I technically have the day off next Friday. We'll have to see what we want to do about the meeting.
Yeah,
The US
just
holiday.
cancel it. Because yeah,
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, quick thing for for Frederico, we can't actually publish the working group, the policy working group spotlight, and I'm updating the PR as to why. So we'll follow up in Slack.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Excellent.
And thank you very much, everyone, for joining today and for your contributions to our group. We really appreciate it. And we'll meet again maybe next week, maybe the week after that, to continue this discussion. If you have anything that you want to talk about in the meantime, never hesitate to ping us. We're always happy to help. And also in the SIG ContribEx Comms Slack channel, always available. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you.